Alright, so this is going to be a little bit of a different video here. I have got this mess of wire that I have cut out of all those fluorescent light fixtures from a few videos back. And I want to strip this down and find out how much actual copper we can get out of this. Now, this is obviously the very skinny little stuff. It's solid core, but you know, very, very skinny. There's not a lot of copper to this. I'm going to guess that, you know, might be a couple of pounds at best. But either way, I am going to straighten all this out. I'm going to trim off all these other little pieces, get rid of all these little wire caps and stuff. And I'll get right back to you once I get this all kind of cleaned up and ready to strip. So this should be an interesting video nonetheless, just to see, you know, how much we can actually get out of this little tiny wire. Is it really worth stripping? Probably not. I could probably sell this. I'm not quite sure what percentage of copper recovery my yard would give me. I would assume, like all the appliance wire that I cut off of appliances and stuff, I get 40% copper recovery or number 2 wire for that. And this stuff being so skinny, I would assume they would also give me just number 2 wire. It wouldn't qualify for anything higher than that. Maybe I could get 45% or something out of it, but most likely it would just be a 40% number 2 wire that my yard would give me. But if I strip this down, this, even though this is way too thin to be considered bare bright copper, my yard will still give me a number 1 copper wire price. So better than number 2 still. So yep, let me get right back to you after I trim this up and trying to straighten this out a little bit, and we'll strip a few pieces and we'll see how that goes. And wish me luck. Alright, so I got it all straightened out, cut off all the excess stuff that we didn't want. Got this all pretty much ready to strip. I am going to do some of it with my little Swiss Army X-Acto knife that I like to strip wire with. And I am going to do some of it with my Creworks wire stripping machine. So I'm not sure which one's going to be faster. I'm thinking doing it by hand is probably going to be faster. But maybe the machine will be faster. Since this is all roughly the same size, I should only have to dial the machine in once and then just be able to run this all through. So let's find out which one is easier, which one is faster, doing this by hand or doing it with the wire stripping machine. All right, let's see. All right, so I'm going to try to strip a couple of these pieces by hand using my little Swiss Army knife and see how that goes compared to using the wire stripping machine. That is nice and smooth. Let's get that right into the right spot. That worked pretty good. See if we can pop the rest of that casing off of there. I like to use needle nose pliers just to get a grip on it like that, and voila! Got ourselves a nice little clean piece of wire. So that's not very much, but let's do a couple more pieces here, see if it works as successfully as the first one. This is why sometimes I find a knife might just be a little bit easier than using the wire stripping machine. See if we can get that edge of the casing there again. And just pull down on it. Voila! Nice little clean piece of wire. Let's try one more. Then I'll try my wire stripping machine and see if it goes any quicker. See, those pieces went really nice and smooth. I would think it's just as fast as the wire stripping machine, if not faster. As long as it works flawlessly like that. You get a nice little clean piece of copper. All right, one more. It's just a shorty, just a little black one. There we go. Turn around, go the other way. Looks like we got it. Yep, nice, another nice little clean piece of wire there. Alright, I'm going to grab my wire stripping machine. You saw just how easy and effective that works with the Swiss Army knife. These blades always stay nice and sharp, so it's ideal. And using that lower blade, it gives me that nice flat surface angle on there, so you just kind of hold it at the right angle and just pull that wire through. Does a good job of cutting. But I'll be right back with you. I'm going to set up my wire stripping machine and see how that works. Alright, I think I've got my Creworks wire stripping machine all set up here properly. I think I have it dialed into the proper thickness and gauge. So let's just give it a shot here and see what happens. You always want this to feed up into the roller so it holds it right in the middle. Doesn't seem like it quite got it. There we go. I guess it did get it on the first cut because that just fell right off after passing it through the second time. So there we go. Nice little clean piece of wire without too much effort there. Alright, let's try another little piece. Some of these might vary in thickness by a very minute amount. So we'll see how this machine does. Try a second pass. Yeah, that second pass definitely saves you from looking for that first original cut. Yeah, it just falls right off. So far so good. Ideally I would just leave the machine running, but you know, for the sake of the video, I've been turning it off. Alright, let's try this one. Yeah, I can't see the cut on the first pass, so we'll try it again. Yep, and the casing just falls right off. Beautiful. Yeah, it works exceptionally well, even with this very, very skinny wire. Alright, I'm going to try another piece of this, and then I'm just going to run this all through, and we're going to see what we get here at the end. But the Creworks wire stripping machine works great once you get it dialed in. If your wire that you're stripping is all different sizes and different thicknesses, you're going to spend more time playing around with the adjusting the height of the cutting wheel than, you know, it's probably just easier to use a knife. But when I got a decent sized little pile like this, and it's all roughly the very same size, this seems to work pretty good. There's one pass. I'll try it a second time. Oh, look at that. Just kind of got this hung up in there, but worked nonetheless. Nice clean piece of wire. Alright, you probably want to see me do at least one more piece here. Let's grab something different. Let's try one of these red ones. Yeah, it's a nice longer piece. Let's give it a go. It feeds up into the cutting disc. There we go. I'll feed it through that second time just to save a little bit of time. It seems to work better that way. Yep, and you can literally just see how the casing falls off of that. You know, very easy at that point. You just grab it and pull it off. And you're left with a nice clean piece of copper wire. Alright, I'm going to run all the rest of this through this machine, get this all cleaned up, and we're going to see how much all of this wire actually weighed. Alright, I'm getting down to the last dozen pieces or so, and I have definitely decided that the wire stripper It's much faster, works much easier. Just pass it through twice, and these casings come right off. And you can see I'm getting a nice little pile of stripped copper. But yeah, a lot easier than using the knife and trying to use the pliers to find the little split and pull the casing off. So much faster and easier to just run this through 2 times, and this wire just falls right out. So yeah, as long as all your wire is the same size, it's going to be much faster to use a wire stripping machine than to do it by hand. I honestly thought it would probably be faster to do it by hand, but not at all. Not at all. This is much easier, much quicker, and I just wanted you to see how fast and easily you can do this. Once it's all dialed in and you've got it all set up properly, these wire stripping machines are fantastic, because this is about the smallest, skinniest wire you could ever cut. Now see, sometimes 3rd time's the charm. If you don't see it easily coming off after the 2nd pass, just try it a 3rd time. And there we go. Nice and easy. But generally, 2 times through works pretty good. But yeah, if you don't see that wire coming out, then just put it through one more time. So you'd look forever right now to find that original cut in there. It would absolutely take forever. So yeah, just pass it through a 2nd time. And look at that. This wire is literally just falls right out of the casing. Just like that. Beautiful, simple, fast, easy. I like it. I like it a lot. Pass it through again. And remember, you always want the wire to be going up into the cutting disc. You don't want it to go straight at the cutting disc. You don't want to be feeding it down into the cutting disc, because then your wire, especially this skinny stuff, is just going to jump out and it's not going to ride through the center and it's not going to get cut properly. But if you set your guard on the front, which you always want to use the guard. I've seen in other videos where people just don't even use the guard at all. Well, that's just silly and dangerous. And it doesn't help guide your wire properly to hold it in the middle, which is kind of a critical component. Besides the safety factor, it keeps this little skinny wire right in the middle. You can see how beautiful that works. I love it, I love it, I love it. My little copper mountain keeps getting bigger. Oh, that's just a tiny little piece. I set most of the real small pieces aside because, you know, who wants to mess around with those? But yeah, see, even that tiny piece, no problem. A few more to go here, half a dozen or so. I figured this works so well and so efficiently, I wanted to show you as I did these last few pieces, because it was so much quicker than using the knife. Yep, simple, fast, and easy. Now these machines, the last time I checked, you can get them on Amazon for around $200. There are different versions of them with different, you know, manufacturer names. This is a Creworks, but you know, the Viva ones or whatever they are, there are probably a few other brand names. They all look pretty much the very same as this one, and I'm sure they all work the very same. Yeah, absolutely love how fast and easy this was. And again, is it worth it to strip this little teeny skinny wire? Well, that's up to you. For some people, it might not be worth your time. It's better to just sell it as is. But since I'm a hobby scrapper, this is just more for fun than anything, and at the end of the year I'd like to have a nice little stash of non-ferrous goodies that I can sell. Helps pay the bills a little bit. And don't worry, in my next video we will be out street scrapping again, hitting the curbs, finding all the goodness. Because yeah, I honestly prefer making the street scrapping videos over any sort of processing of scrap videos. I'm gonna try to save, you know, some processing scrap videos for the winter time when things are slower here in Canada where I live. You know, once we're buried in snow, there's not very much scrap to be found on the curbs, and it's not really worth going out looking for it. So come the winter, you might get a couple more videos like this one. But from here until the fall, I plan on just sticking to the street scrapping. We had some family issues this week that arose, which prevented us from going scrapping. Our 82-year-old father has been in the hospital for the last couple of weeks, and he got out of the hospital and he's doing a little bit better now. Still not in great shape. But you know, me and my brother are doing our best that we can to take care of him. He lives on his own, so that makes it difficult, but we got a camera set up in his apartment so we can actually peek in and see how he's making out, make sure he's okay. He did have a little fall the other day, but we noticed it on the camera right away and got over there before it was an issue. He didn't hurt himself, thank goodness. But yeah, if you're wondering why I didn't have a scrapping video for Sunday, that'd be why. Life happens. I hope this little wire stripping video amuses you. It's definitely a good wire stripper review video because I can't sing the praises of this little machine enough. Look at that, all done. Gone through all of that copper. We'll turn that off. There we go. All right, I'm going to clean up my mess here, put this wire stripper away, and we're going to find out exactly how much my little pile of copper weighs. All right, I'll be right back. Alrighty, so I've got my scale all set up here. First, I wanted to see how much is all this casing going to weigh. 7 ounces. So just by stripping all of that casing away, that's all the weight that we lost was only 7 ounces. So in a way, since that's casing, that's probably a good thing. Let's see how much our copper weighs. I imagine more than 7 ounces. 15 ounces. So if I switch that to pounds, 1 pound of copper. Wow, I actually thought I would have a little bit more than that. I know this stuff is awfully skinny, but yeah, my yard is going to pay me #1 copper red wire is what they categorize it as. And #1 wire at my yard right now is $5.65 Canadian. If it was thicker wire, if it was Bear Bright's going for $5.82. If it was stranded wire, that would be #2. And well, I shouldn't even say that, because when I strip my oven and dryer cords, it comes out like this stuff right here. Oven and dryer cords. They also give me #1 red wire for oven and dryer cords that are stripped. And it is kind of stranded, so who knows. But #2 copper is $5.27. #3 copper, which would be like your sheet, you know, type copper, roofing copper, that's $5.17. So that's all in Canadian, but those are pretty good prices. A yellow brass is going for $3.66. If I was to sell the wire not stripped, the #1 60% wire, which would be like your BX cable minus the aluminum sheet, you know, sheathing that it comes in, but just the wire inside of it, you know, unstripped, or like Romex wire, that would be #1 at 60%, and it's going for $3.08. If it was #2 wire, which is like all of the appliance cords, all the stuff you see me cutting out there on the curbs, Number 2 wire at 40% copper recovery rate is $1.97 a pound right now in Canadian. So I can't complain about that at all. Two bucks a pound. I know my laundry room / workshop is pretty messy. That bottom tub is full of wire. Those 2 tubs over there, full of wire. This tub on top, full of wire. So these tubs generally weigh 35-40 pounds of wire in each one. So if you do the math on that, let's say that's 40, that's 40, that's 40. So there's 120. Let's say the smaller one is 30 pounds. So 150 pounds. That's almost $300 in just my cut cords. And I've been saving those up just since April, since I started scrapping in the spring this year. So it adds up pretty darn fast. That's why I'm out there clipping cords. The people that get mad about clipping cords off of, vacuum cleaners and stuff, well, that's too bad, because if I don't cut it, the next guy's going to come along and he's going to cut it. So there's no point in not cutting the cords off when you're out there street scrapping. Just take what you can get. And, like I said, at $1.97 a pound, that stuff adds up really fast. To think that I got about $300 roughly in cut cords already, and that would have been for like April, May, June, and most of July. So about 4 months it took me to save up that much. But still, that's free money from the curb. But anyways, I just wanted to say thank you for watching my video. I know this was only 1 pound of copper after all of that, but hey, it's 1 pound of copper still. That's $5.65. So I'm not going to complain about that at all. It's all going to add up, right? I save this stuff up all year long. I got a bucket over here, a number 2 copper on the go. I got quite a bit in there already. I don't know how many pounds it is, probably about 15 pounds or so. But, this stuff really starts to add up fast. This stuff that comes out of motors and transformers and stuff, it's heavy and it adds up really quick. But anyways, thank you again for watching my video. I appreciate you being here, and I really hope I see you right here in the next one.